Alright, let's try this again. I apparently had a brain fart and just stopped talking a little bit through this. So yeah, this is another TwoSun Tuesday. And this is more of a budget version. Or budget model, I should say. I don't believe there's a higher end model version of this. Or at least if there is, it's been created, made, and then discontinued long before I was collecting these guys. But this is TS165. It's got their white and black stacked G10, as you can kind of see there. Yep. And does a pretty darn good job with the looks on it, and has their vertical kind of milling going on through it, so it has a lot of nice grip going on there for it. You can see it's got some swoops kind of going on here, and to a bit they also continue out on the blade here. Now, this is one of I think there's another variant out there as well. I don't remember if they called it crude and smooth or whatnot, but this one has the holes milled in the middle of it, whereas the other one I don't believe has those millings, but still has a little bit different pattern, but still uses their black and white G10 sort of thing kind of going on there. This guy does use their newer deep carry clip, which is definitely a step above their original clip, but I really wish they would kind of phase out these button top screws for their deep carry clips. They do oftentimes, and this one is not one of those times, where they will inset it into the G10, which helps a little bit, but not actually when you're trying to get it over those screws. So that's something that I do wish that they would take care of a little bit, but that really only does affect their deep carry clips, because their titanium milled clips, as well as their old black stamped clips, don't really have those screws in the pocket path. So there you go. And yeah, this is a flipper, so how about if we finally deploy it? And yeah, this is not a small knife by any stretch of the imagination. It's not enormous. It's got a nice drop point blade. We have a nice swedge kind of going on the top of that, so it almost makes it look a little bit spear pointish kind of thing. But we also have a fuller kind of going down all the way in the middle, but not accessible when it's closed, so it's not something that you would be able to try to use as a grip to try to open it two-handed or a reverse flick or anything like that. But it does help out with the balance of the knife, which is actually, yeah, it's a fair bit heavier in the back than a lot of others would be. It does make the blade feel a little bit more live in the hand because it's a little bit lighter than the counterbalance on the end here. But yeah. This pocket clip also, a lot of times I get a little frustrated with deep carry clips from manufacturers, because usually, like TwoSun and everybody else, they will design one and then put it on basically all of the knives that they think people want and or people demand to have a deep carry clip on them. And, they're not bespoke to the knives. A lot of times they're an afterthought, and sometimes they're terrible. In this particular instance, it's not really all that bad. Usually with the TwoSun clips, it's this kind of edge area here that would really kind of dig into my hand. And it would if I had ridiculously massive hands. But because I just have large hands, that's actually out of the way. So it's actually quite a bit more comfortable than it ends up being on some of their other knives. So that's nice. You don't really have jimping, but you do have these sort of guys going on here. It's pretty darn comfortable to either have your thumb in the back here for one of these ramps, or on that front one, you can see we do have quite a bit thick blade before it thins out on that swedge. So that's very, very comfortable. And you can see, now that I get super duper close, that yeah, they left quite a bit of room after the plunge grind. So you got a few sharpenings in there before you really have to worry about kind of digging up into there yourself, or just dealing with the fact that your stones are going to mark up some of that plunge grind. Either way, it depends on if you're really looking for something that looks pretty over a very, very long time, or if you're looking a little bit more for, something that's much more utilitarian. And hey, seeing as how I picked this guy up for $35, I would definitely err on the side of utilitarianism. Yeah, this guy's in 14C28N, as it probably says in the video description. And yeah, good old Wong design. So yeah, how about if we go into some measurements here? Nope. Well, I'm on millimeters, so I will start with blade stock. And we basically got 3.7 millimeters, which it's slightly thinner by, a millimeter or a point of a millimeter. Less than some of their others, but yeah, it's still pretty darn robust and everything like that. So now that I've got the blade stock out of there, then we can go for some inch stuff. So from basically the farthest that you could stab into something because the handle will stop, we got a little over 3.7 inches. So yeah, this is not a tiny knife by any stretch of the imagination. Amazing that something is actually comfortable in my hands. That's that's less than that. It's pretty difficult to end up doing. But yeah, so we got that. How about if we see how thick we are here? And yes, we are thick, as they've ended up doing with a lot of their G10 knives. This is a 0.65 of an inch. But because of that, you really do get, it really does fill your hand up a lot more. And especially with this one, with the finger grooves and everything, it makes it really, really comfortable if you are into that hammer grip style, which a lot of times I actually am. I'll start out a cut with kind of the pinch grip where I'm holding, either onto the bolster, or I can scoot right up if I really want to do something super small and delicate. But I'll start a cut there because it's much easier for me to hold that sort of thing. I guess probably a holdover from kitchen knives and whatnot. But after that, a lot of times I'll switch over to a hammer grip to force it through the rest of the way. A lot of people will use that saber grip where they have the thumb up there. And yeah, I kind of switch off and on. Either one works about the same for me, so I don't really need to worry too much about which one might be better in any particular situation. I just play around with it and, cut the way I want to cut. So, yeah, we've got some of these measurements out of the way. I will turn my calipers off so they don't burn through those, what was it, LC41 batteries? Yeah, and then we will get on to some measurements. And this is not particularly light. Yeah, 4.55 ounces, 129 grams. So definitely over that ounce and inch mark that some people like to aspire to with a lot of their knives. The liner on here is pretty darn flush, but it does have a little bit knocked down. And, it does have enough blade stock thickness on it that it's very, very easy to get in there to disengage the lock. So I don't really have any worries whatsoever that I'm going to fail folding this knife up or anything like that. So yeah, the blade can be a little close to some of these grooves in here. That would probably only really bother you if you're, having fun just dragging your the side of your pinky back and forth over there. But for the most part, it's really not going to bother you. Yeah, you can see a little bit of a nick there in my blade, and that's mostly me accidentally having something else knock into that, which wouldn't happen if you're carrying it in your pockets, but possibly might happen if you have like 5 knives open on your table at a time or whatnot. So yeah, how about if we go ahead and take a look on the inside of this thing, because I certainly enjoy doing that. One of the screws for the pocket clip also is used as a standoff screw. And the other one, which is, yeah, goes down below, just goes into the liner and whatnot there. But that's all we basically have besides the pivot. And after that, then you can pull that off and ooh. And then you can try to actually fully take the knife apart. There we go. And yeah, you can see the lock bar. We do have a little bit of area of milling there. And of course these dot things here, which on this particular version of it, these holes are actually visible all the way through when the knife is open. But like I said, they also have another one that does not quite have that. And we have quite a bit of skeletonization going on the other scale there. Now these bearings are riding just basically on the steel there, and it does a pretty good job. These guys are kind of stone-washed liners, as you can see, but they aren't the absolute highest heat-treated sort of things in the world. So the ceramic bearings are actually kind of carving themselves a little bit of a groove pretty easily there. So the action on it's pretty darn good. I guess I did miss one other thing here, and that is that we do have a lanyard loop, but it is basically a cutout in the back spacer there with a pin, so it keeps it nice and out of the way. But for those of you who actually do enjoy using those, even though I think it's kind of weird on a full-sized knife like that, then yeah, it's certainly there for you. So yeah, it's got their ceramic bearings, as you know, certainly makes sense, since that's basically all they end up using, except for some of their really, really old karambits and whatnot that use some washers. Now, this guy does not have a D-shaped pivot on him or anything like that. It was kind of done before they were really doing that en masse, if you will. But I haven't had any troubles with disassembly or anything like that. So here comes the top of my wrist. And yeah, I will use my finger to hold the stud in, because otherwise, a lot of times, they don't have a whole lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have a whole lot of torsion kind of holding them in place, so they will drop out on you. But yeah, certainly something that I'm always happy with TwoSun's is the quality of their hardware. I don't really have any fear that I'm going to strip out a screw or anything like that. They always seem to do a pretty darn good job with their hardware. But yeah, this guy is pretty darn neat. I do want to say, I have taken a look at another knife that's probably pretty darn close to this, and that being the TwoSun TS89. Let's see, I might be able to actually just find this guy sitting over here. Hey! Boom! There you go. So these guys are actually pretty similar. You know, the 89 here is just a little bit taller. Still has that fuller in there, but doesn't have the little waves and whatnot. And yes, this is a budget version of the knife, but it does have its own bespoke titanium clip. Not super, you know, special or anything like that. And it's actually just a little bit shallow, but it does get away with that a little bit because of the channels kind of cut in there. This guy also does, I haven't seen one for a while, but does have a little bit more upscale titanium version of this. If you don't particularly like the G10, then yeah, they do a titanium version of that. Since I haven't actually seen one in hand myself, I don't actually know if that's a frame lock or if it's a titanium liner lock. I don't know. But yeah, you can also, I guess, reverse flick that one if you're really into that. But yeah, I will say that, I mean, as far as the blade profile and everything like that between these two, very, very darn similar. Come on, work with me here. Fine, it's just not going to do what I want it to, and that's okay. Because I probably don't do a lot of things that it wants me to. Like turn it off when it gets way too damn hot. But yeah, anyway, I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. This is fairly similar to the TS89. Does a pretty darn good job. It's just a little bit thinner and works really, really great because of the finger grooves there for a hammer grip sort of situation. There you go. That is the TS, what is this, 165 from Wong. And yeah, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. And of course, as always, have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. And subscribe if you like.